Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell by Brandon Sanderson. Read for you by Claudia Black.
The one you have to watch for is the white fox, Dagon said, sipping his beer. They say he shook hands with the evil itself, that he visited the fallen world and came back with strange powers. He can kindle fire on even the deepest of nights, and no shade will dare come for his soul. Yes, the white fox, meanest bastard in these parts for sure. Pray he doesn't set his eyes on you, friend. If he does, you're dead.
Dagon's drinking companion had a neck like a slender wine bottle and a head like a potato stuck sideways on the top. He squeaked as he spoke, a Lastport accent, voice echoing in the eaves of the Waystop's common room.
Why would he set his eyes on me?
That depends, friend,
Dagon said, looking about as a few overdressed merchants sauntered in. They wore black coats, ruffled lace poking out the front, and the tall-topped, wide-brimmed hats of fort folk. They wouldn't last 2 weeks out here in the forests.
It depends,
Dagon's dining companion prompted.
It depends on what?
On a lot of things, friend. The white fox is a bounty hunter, you know. What crimes have you committed? What have you done?
Nothing.
That squeak was like a rusty wheel.
Nothing? Men don't come out into the forests to do nothing, friend.
His companion glanced from side to side. He'd given his name as Ernest, but then Dagon had given his name as Amity. Names didn't mean a whole lot in the forests. Or maybe they meant everything. Silence Montaigne closed the door to the common room, then turned and pressed her back against it. She tried to still her racing heart by breathing in and out. Had she made any obvious signs? Did they know she'd recognize them? William Ann passed by, wiping her hands on a cloth. "Mother," the young woman asked, pausing. "Mother, are you—" "Fetch the book. Quickly, child." William Ann's face went pale. Then she hurried into the back pantry. Silence clutched her apron to still her nerves, then joined William Ann as the girl came out of the pantry with a thick leather satchel. White flour dusted its cover and spine from the hiding place. Silence took the satchel and opened it on the high kitchen counter, revealing a collection of loose-leaf papers. Most had faces drawn on them. As Silence rifled through the pages, William Ann moved to look through the peephole back into the common room. For a few moments, the only sound to accompany Silence's thumping heart was that of hastily turned pages. "It's the man with the long neck, isn't it?" William Ann asked. "I remember his face from one of the bounties." "That's just Lamentation Winebear, a petty horse thief. He's barely worth 2 measures of silver." "Who then? The man in the back, with the hat?" Silence shook her head. Finding a sequence of pages at the bottom of her pile, she inspected the drawings. "God beyond," she thought. "I can't decide if I want it to be them or not." At least her hands had stopped shaking. William Ann scurried back and craned her neck over Silence's shoulder. At 14, the girl was already taller than her mother, a fine thing to suffer, a child taller than you. Though William Ann grumbled about being awkward and lanky, her slender build foreshadowed a beauty to come. She took after her father.
"Oh, God beyond,"
William Ann said, raising a hand to her mouth.
"You mean—"
"Chesterton Divide," Silence said. The shape of the chin, the look in the eyes, they were the same. He walked right into her hands with 4 of his men. The bounty on those 5 would be enough to pay her supply needs for a year, maybe 2.
"We were sent here to be strong," Grandmother said, standing on the cliff edge overlooking the waters. Her whited hair curled in the wind, writhing like the wisps of a shade. She turned back to Silence, and her weathered face was covered in droplets of water from the crashing surf below. "The God beyond sent us. It's part of the plan."
"It's so easy for you to say that, isn't it?" Silence spat. "You can fit anything into that nebulous plan, even the destruction of the world itself." "I won't hear blasphemy from you, child." A voice like boots stepping in gravel. She walked towards Silence. "You can rail against the God beyond, but it will change nothing. William was a fool and an idiot. You are better off. We are 4 Scouts. We survive. We will be the ones to defeat the evil someday." She passed Silence by. Silence had never seen a smile from Grandmother, not since her husband's death. Smiling was wasted energy, and love? Love was for the people back in Homeland, the people who died to the evil. "I'm with child," Silence said. Grandmother stopped.
"William?"
"Who else?" Grandmother continued on. "No condemnations?" Silence asked, turning, folding her arms.
"It's done," Grandmother said. "We are 4 Scouts. If this is how we must continue, so be it. I'm more worried about the way stop and meeting our payments to those damn forts."
I have an idea for that, Silence thought, considering the lists of bounties she'd begun collecting. Something even you wouldn't dare. Something dangerous. Something unthinkable. "I have come for payment of debt," Theopolis said. "You have no bounty to turn in, then, Perhaps we will need my document after all. So kind of me to bring another copy. This really will be wonderful for us both. Do you not agree?" "Your feet are glowing." Theopolis hesitated, then looked down. There the mud he'd tracked in shone very faintly blue in the light of the glow-paste remnants. "You followed me," she said.
"You were there last night."
He looked up at her with a slow, unconcerned expression. "And?" He took a step forward. Silence backed away, her heel hitting the wall behind her. She reached around, taking out the key and unlocking the door behind her. Theopolis grabbed her arm, yanking her away as she pulled open the door.
"Going for one of your hidden weapons?" he asked, with a sneer. "The crossbow you keep hidden on the pantry shelf? Yes, I know of that. I'm disappointed, Silence. Can't we be civil?"
"I will never sign your document, Theopolis," she said, then spat at his feet. "I would sooner die. I would sooner be put out of house and home. You can take the waste stop by force, but I will not serve you. You can be damned for all I care, you bastard, you—" He slapped her across the face, a quick but unemotional gesture.
"Oh, do shut up!" She stumbled back. "Such dramatic Silence. I can't be the only one to wish you'd lived up to your name,
She licked her lip, feeling the pain of his slap. She lifted her hand to her face. A single drop of blood coloured her fingertip when she pulled it away.
"You expect me to be frightened?" Theopolis asked. "I know we are safe in here."
"City fool," she whispered, then flipped the drop of blood at him. It hit him on the cheek. "Always follow the simple rules, even when you think you don't have to. And I wasn't opening the pantry, as you thought." Theopolis frowned, then glanced over at the door she had opened, the door into the small old shrine, her grandmother's shrine, to the god beyond. The bottom of the door was rimmed in silver. Red eyes opened in the air behind Theopolis, a jet-black form coalescing in the shadowed room. Theopolis hesitated, then turned. He didn't get to scream as the shade took his head in its hands and drew his life away. It was a newer shade, its form still strong despite the writhing blackness of its clothing. A tall woman, hard of features, with curling hair. Theopolis opened his mouth, then his face withered away, eyes sinking into his head. "You should have run, Theopolis," Silence said.